him over and have some fun with him. God help this country. I mean, the tools that Big Brother has and the tools we're paying for to put in, it's just hellish. It's absolutely hellish what the nanny state is doing, and breathalyzers in all the cars. You see, now for maybe $10, they can have a breathalyzer in the car, and they'll charge you a couple hundred. You know, well, this is standard regulations. So federal regulations say the catalytic converter, oh, that sounds reasonable. Oh, a low flush toilet. Oh, a curly Q light bulb, fluorescent light bulb. Oh, home inspection. Oh, can't have dust in the barn. Oh, can't have your kids do chores. Oh, can't spank. Oh, can't say no to vaccines. Oh, can't have a garden in your yard. Oh, can't have a job unless the government says. No judge, no jury. They just put you on a list and say you can have a job. That's now coming in. Oh, Google says you can't advertise guns or they delist you now. Huge news. Google shopping censors all gun ammo accessory results. We posted the firearms blog report, and I went and checked. We've got a Google store we never used. I went and checked it. We got the notice 3 days ago, back on Friday. And confirmed it, posted it. DrudgeReport.com picked it up. It wasn't in the lower right-hand corner earlier when I was looking. The point is that it's here. It's happening. Okay, I said I'd go to your calls, and of course I didn't. I'm going to come back and go to Adam. Then I'm going to go to Tom and a few others. So have your point ready. We're going to try to move quick, which means sloth speed when it comes to me taking calls. And then we're going to have the film director, TV host, producer, who infiltrated the Olympic security team and says that they're massing troops secretly, but it's admitted, actually, I looked up a lot of what he said. It's actually been blurbed, that there is no security, basically, and that it's all a big joke. People tried to sell him drugs when he was in there, and it's just all a complete scam, and that he's been told there will be a giant event at the end of the Olympics. Now, I'm seeing all these rumors being pumped out about the Olympics, and I went and looked where they came from. It comes from the mainstream media in the last 6 months, and the Rockefeller Foundation, look it up, saying there'd be a terror attack. They wrote a future plan prospectus predicting a terror attack 3 years ago at this Olympics. We wrote an article about that a few weeks ago. The point is, then BBC's coming out with reports, because Paul Watson was contacted by him, and I've seen other reports, saying conspiracy theorists are saying it's going to be attacked. So they put out there's going to be an attack, create all this fear, then don't have an attack, and then blame us for saying there'd be an attack, when we never said that. Of course, the media also says there's no drones either. Watch me. Okay, let's go to your phone calls right now. Then we got a guest popping in, the big whistleblower dealing with the Olympics. And then we'll get into all of the other news. The total surveillance state to be run by control freaks. Let's go ahead and talk to Adam in Ohio, listening on 770 AM WAIS. Thank you for joining us, Adam.
Thanks for having me, Alex. It's an honor and a pleasure to speak with you. You were chatting about the Supreme Court. Two things on that I just wanted to mention there real quick. Of course, on the affordable health care thing, you know, there's no sense in picking out a specific. The whole thing's garbage. But the point that I've been trying to make to folks, and it seems to work pretty well, is to make the point that, you know, when the conversation on this issue started, it was about how we were all paying too much. And by the time it was over, it was about how we're not paying them enough. And that seems to sink in.
Wow. I mean, in days of ranting, I haven't made that point, and unbelievably clear and consistent to the heart of the matter issue that you just raised. Remember how it was going to lower prices? They've already gone up over 25%. The insurance companies wrote this to rip people off. The stupid, gullible, gimme class. Of course, a lot of them have just lost their jobs, deindustrialization, or people that are also, you know, just hoping, thought they'd get something good, but all they're going to get is a giant screw job.
That's right. And that seems to go pretty well over people. I haven't heard a good response from Obama supporters from that one. That's a good stumper there if you're talking to folks. The other thing I thought was interesting in the rulings that were released last week, if I understood it correctly, there was a case involving Montana where the state of Montana had said, you know, we got a 100-year-old law against corporation, you know, corporate personhood. And the Supreme Court, I believe, said that, well, we don't care. Citizens United stands. We're trumping your, you know, assertion of states' rights. So I'd be curious to see what the state of Montana is going to do given that, they had a century of legal precedent in their state that no, corporations are not people. And the Supreme Court, last week said, well, too bad for you. So, that'll be interesting to see how that plays out. And the only other thing I was going to mention, I'm down here in southern Ohio. We just had them big storms come in. Most areas around here haven't had power in days, and told we're not going to have it for a week. And I'll tell you what, this is a good test to see. I mean, I try to be prepared, and I realized how little prepared I was. And, I went to the grocery store as soon as the power went off thinking I'd get some stuff. And, most of the young people were just crowding in the liquor store. It's a wake-up call. You know what I mean? It's time to get ready now before it's more serious than just a storm knocking some lines down. You know,
I'm glad wow, what an amazing call. I'm glad you raised that point, because that's next in my stack after we take some calls and have our guest on, is that this shows you government can't and won't protect you. And the federal government is criticizing right now the power companies when they got hit basically by an inland hurricane. And the government is working to shut down power plants to jack up prices and saying consumption's bad so that a few insiders make more money who are exempt, like General Electric that Obama gave a waiver to over 2 years ago. Or no, I guess it was in February of last year, so it was a year and a half ago. I mean, it's just off the charts, the level of corruption. And D.C.'s without power, cell phones are off. And I feel bad for the people of D.C., but wouldn't it be nice if the White House and Congress, the power was off forever? I mean, think of how good our lives would be without those criminals taking our tax money, our labor, and then giving us 30 cents on the dollar back and telling us it's free money and how great they are. Thank you for the points. Now, we're going to be covering that, and for people that are able to call, we'll be taking your calls in the second hour on that subject and others. I'd like to hear how it is there. It's one of some of the worst power outages in the last 50 years because of the record heat. Tom in Maryland, a KU band satellite listener. Yeah, we're on the KU band's TV as well. Thank you, Tom, for joining us.
Good afternoon, Alex. I noticed some time ago you were wanting nicknames for the media. I have a few. If you haven't gotten them, Moron Media, Moloch Media, Mickey Mouse Media. I wanted to mention something that Obama supporters seem to have a bad case of, Obamunists. And I think Obama supporters are Obamunists.
Obamunists.
I got two songs I want to recommend for you because I know you're going to like them. One is from a artist named Bruce Dickinson, the vocalist from Iron Maiden, put out a song in the 1990s called I Will Not Accept the Truth. And that's a perfect song for you and your show. And there's another song by Yngwie Malmsteen called Rise Up. And I believe you will absolutely, positively love both of those songs. And that's really all I wanted to say was throw the terms Obamunism and Obamunist at you.
You know, we've been on KU band for more than a decade. I always forget the frequencies we're on. What frequency are you listening to us on KU band?
It says G25KU. It's channel 32. I never changed my setting. It says
no, we're on all sorts of stuff. That's how they listen to us in Antarctica. We'll be right back.
We're on the march. The Empire.
The state, I'm the highway patrol.
And who is the state?
Well, you know me when you see me.
Well, it's big, giant offshore banks that publicly brag in hundreds of publications and, of course, on CNBC that they own us. And how did they do it? They took mortgages and other financial instruments and leveraged them to close to the power of infinity, creating fraudulent paper to buy up the world through fraud. And when the Ponzi scheme went into retrograde, they had the governments of the world that they had gotten their personnel into the highest positions of shine the public onto the debt. But wait, there was more. They had the dinosaur prostitute media lie to everyone while wearing $3,000 suits with info babes licking their lips and told you that it was your debt and that you were lazy and stupid and bad, and they had to raise taxes and set up some checkpoints and put the army on the streets and have the TSA abuse you and your family because terrorists were hiding under every table. Meanwhile, they publicly funded Al-Qaeda. Now, shifting gears, ladies and gentlemen, last week we had an anonymous whistleblower on. But we did not just have the anonymous whistleblower on the broadcast without first doing some checking, and Tony Gosling of Bilderberg.org, he has a radio show in England and has broken a lot of big stories over the years as a journalist. He said, no, I can vouch for this guy. He's the real deal. And his story also fit into things we'd seen in other big events, G20, NATO, you name it. They're always used to attack the general public, have military on the streets, have daytime, nighttime curfews, have badges, so they can get the police and media all trained basically on hot martial law as they ease the rest of the country's outlying areas into a softer martial law. And he made some amazing allegations that I'll have him repeat here today, but he went by Lee Hazeldean, and when he was on the show, I think he said a little too much about himself. He said, yeah, I worked on this national TV show, I worked on that national TV show. Well, yes, he appeared in them, he worked on them, he produced some of them. His real name, of course, is not Lee Hazeldean, the whistleblower who exposed how he had infiltrated G4S security as an employee and undercover, how security preparations for the Olympics were so poor that they were inviting a terrorist attack, how they were massing troops in the area. He also revealed that they were saying there'd be a big event. He has now, at the end of the Olympics, that would be the biggest event in recent times. He revealed himself to be Ben Fellows, an acclaimed director who has worked with Stanley Kubrick. That actually gets me a little bit envious. It's very hard for me to get envious. Fellows has also appeared in numerous popular television and theater shows. And he's made the decision to reveal his identity after having gone under a pseudonym for the purposes of radio interviews conducted over the last week because of fears for his safety. We'll find out why he's fearing for his safety. And he will recap what's happened to him. But the article with all the bullet points and why this is so important is up at Infowars.com and Prisonplanet.com. Right now, Olympics whistleblower fears for safety, reveals identity, and he joins us now from England. Ben, good to have you on the broadcast with us.
Hi, Alex. It's really good to be back with you.
Recap who you are, what you discovered, and then now what started happening to make you think that you may be in danger.
Okay. Well, I wanted to do an expose on G4S. I'd heard a lot of horror stories, and I was looking for an opportunity to basically go and work for them and see what they were like, and see if these horror stories were true, because you never can really believe what other people say. You have to go and look it on the internet and join these organisations and actually find out. So when the Olympics came up, it was a perfect opportunity to go and see exactly what their working practices were like and see, what this organisation was about. And really, I got there and it was a catalogue of disasters. The X-ray machine operators didn't know what they were looking at. They said they were going to turn off the metal detectors in peak times. I was asked to take a knife through a metal detector that didn't go off, and they said, add more metal to your body, like the keys or a